What's up, people of YouTube? I'm Joe. I'm here with your host Vernon. We're here, lovely day at Cold Creek. Let's fish that.
Alright, ladies and gents, you just met my father, and as he said, we will be doing some fishing here at Cold Creek Pond, and I need to explain the reasoning behind this. Our big plan when traveling through California was to do some fishing in the Merced River, doing some fishing up at Lake Tahoe, and then going to Mammoth Lakes to do some fishing. But as explained in a previous video, weather was not on our side. With some rain and snow, we didn't get to do a lot of fishing out there. But the weather wasn't the only thing to blame. We went there in early April, and as luck would have it, the trout season only starts the last day of April. So even if we did have better weather, there was no chance of catching any trout. Now that's the big problem when fishing here in Nevada. We don't have a trout season. You can catch trout year round. So that was something on my side that I forgot to check. But because we can catch trout here in Nevada year round, I said to my dad, let's do some trout fishing when we get back to Vegas. The big problem with this, however, here in southern Nevada, the ponds that get stuck with the trout, either the trout are already caught out by humans or by some of the cormorants, or the water gets that hot that the fish die. So there really is only a handful of places where you can catch trout, even during the summer months. Now, yes, you can go down to Willow Beach and catch some big trout, but technically that's in Arizona. That is why we made our way out here to Cold Creek Pond. We are seeing some small trout swimming around still, so we're going to see if we can get any trout out there today. Okay, so now that you know the game plan, let's get to fishing. Alright, so we've had several attempts to fish here at Cold Creek, where we're getting quite a lot of wind on some days, and we have a couple of hours today before the wind picks up again. That's why we're out here today. Now my dad's on the opposite side with fly rod. He's trying to see if we can get any of the little trout on fly, and I'm going to start off with a little drop shot rig, with a little worm. I'm going to cast it out there, see if we can get any fish to commit to that. The fish we're seeing are small, but hopefully there are some bigger ones around. Only way we'll find out is by actively fishing. Alright guys, as it usually works, as soon as you put off the camera to conserve some battery power, we get a fish on. This is a small little guy. This is about the size of the fish we're seeing out there. Quickly going to get him out of the water, have a look at him. Got a little landing net out here today so we can have a look at the little fish. This one went for our power worm. Been getting quite a lot of hits on them, but finally getting one to go for the hook. Remember, when working with little trout, to wet your hands, just to get the oil off your hands, to protect the slime layer of the fish. So one quick little look at the baby trout. Let's get him back into the water. We're not planning on keeping any trout today, so we're releasing any fish we catch. Alright, so at least I'm on the board with a fish. Gonna give my father a few more minutes with a fly rod. If that doesn't work, we're gonna get some power worms. If that doesn't work, the wind is starting to pick up. Might have to try some power baits as well. There we go, another one for the power worm. You can see the fish up shallow, casting towards them, shaking the worm a bit, and that's how I'm getting these fish. About the same size as the previous one. I think that's the only fish that's left are these small guys. So this fish has been caught before. He has a piece of line in his mouth. And that entire piece of line is linked to a hook. No way of safely removing that hook without damaging the fish, so we're just going to release him like this. Hopefully that hook will rust out at some stage and he can continue feeding around. Alright, and off he goes. Clearly, even with a hook in his throat, he's still feeding pretty well. Alright guys, so my dad is a lot better at fly fishing than I am, and he's caught quite a lot of trout using fly fishing methods, but I think I'm going to try and get him on some power worms. That's something we don't regularly fish with in South Africa. We're used to using fly rods, but as the wind is slowly starting to pick up, it gets a lot more difficult to use a fly rod out there, so soon we'll have him also on some power worms to see if he can get on a fish today. Alright guys, I got my dad fishing with a little power worm over there, so I'm fishing with a little trout magnet, and lo and behold, got another fish. This one is a bit bigger than the other two. Let's quickly get the net. So there was a time when this little pond had some goldfish in it, and they poisoned the water to kill off all the goldfish, but someone recently restocked some goldfish, which is illegal and you shouldn't do that. But because of all the little goldfish, I tried a little orange trout magnet, and it seems this fish like that. Let's quickly get the hook out. Now this fish has been caught several times before. The reason why I know this, sadly that one, I dropped him and he swam off, but in the back of his throat there was still a little hook, so someone just snipped their line, left the hook in him. Better to do that rather than ripping his guts out by pulling out the little hook, but sadly I lost grip on him and he swam off. Alright guys, it looks that easy. You get out here, throw out some baits, you catch some fish. Looks that way, but that's not completely true. Now we spend a couple hours out there, something like 4 hours, only managed to catch 3 fish. Yes, we did get quite a lot of bites. Now the good news is you can still see quite a lot of action in the water, quite a lot of fish around still. This is not the easiest place to catch fish, especially seeing how a lot of them have been caught before. These fish are quite shy of some of the stuff like power baits, but you can still catch them. And if you're looking for a place somewhere in spring or summer to do some trout fishing here in southern Nevada, Cold Creek is still a place where you can find some trout. Now if there's one surprising thing that I learned from this video, like I said, my dad is quite good at catching trout. He does it quite a lot in South Africa, but over here it's something completely different. You need to understand this is the first time he fished with little power worms, and from this I actually kind of learned that there is a certain way that I can show you the baits, but there are certain things, little ways that you move the rod and stuff, something you learn over time. It's not something I can teach you guys. The more you get out there, the more you move the lures, you learn just the right way to move it, and the fish go for your lure. So keep that in mind when you make your way out here. If you're fishing the exact same thing as me, you're not necessarily going to catch fish. I do a lot of fishing, and sometimes it's a small little difference in the way you do something that gets the fish. But hey, at least we had a lovely day out here. Wind is already starting to pick up again, so I think we're going to call it. So I just want to thank my dad for coming out here and fishing with me. Feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments. Do give us a little thumbs up for the fish we did manage to catch. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button, joining my community. I do weekly videos for you guys. But I want to thank you for watching, and like always, I'll see you next time.